Hello there, this is Monday again, and it's Motivational Monday by Jim and Lucy. Jim is hiding here. He's gonna tell you the good story a bit later, because right now I'm gonna tell you what subject we're talking about today.
Oh, good. I'm glad to know that. I was just taking a nap.
No, he didn't. Anyway, today we have a very interesting subject, how to deal with uncomfortable questions. We do all have questions, and depending on our age and our state of mind, we can react differently. And sometimes we really get frustrated because it's just it's so wrong even to ask those questions sometimes. Like people ask, why don't you change that job, when they don't have to ask it, they're not your career coaches or something. They just met a friend of yours. Or when are you going to marry? Where are you going to settle down? Where are you going to do this and that? Or having kids? Those are the questions that absolute out of the line anytime, anywhere, but we still get in them.
Yes, it can cause you to have a great amount of, rather a fair amount of discomfort. People ask these questions. You get them from family, especially family, then from some friends. Excuse me, I read recently where a gentleman had gotten married because he had gone home. Actually, his girlfriend had given him an ultimatum: we either break up or we get married. So he had to go back home to think about whether he wanted to get married. And he knew he loved her very much, but he wasn't really interested in getting married. But they did get married, and they've been married for over 20-some years happily.
It happens, but anyway, it's still sometimes very uncomfortable to deal with questions. Like you go into the office and your coworker asks you some question you didn't expect, like, what are you doing to lose weight?
or I did this a long time ago, and don't be upset with me, okay? I meant it well. But I asked a woman one time, when is she due? Okay.
That is not good at all.
That wasn't good at all. A, she wasn't due. And B, she was on a stubborn diet. Okay. And I should have never said it.
So for us personally, when you hear the question like that, your reaction will be A, confused, B, you're gonna get mad, you're gonna feel upset about the person who asked the question. And if you get in this question constantly, like sometimes the family members will be pushing you, why did you do that or this, and asking the questions, and they're not supposed to be asking because it's your personal business. And how can you deal with this frustration and with this feeling of comfort?
But ask yourself also, why would they ask these questions? Well, yes, we do have people that are like looky-loos, people that are just looking around, and people that want to pry into your life for no particular reason. They don't want to help your life or rejoice in your life. They just want to make it more like theirs, make it mundane or whatever it is. But just look at the other side of it and say, how can I deal with this? First, recognize not everybody's out to get you. Not everybody's. This relies upon some strength from within, and recognize that you should be coming from a healthy place within yourself right now, and not see yourself as doing constant battle with the rest of the world. Not everybody's trying to hurt you, and you don't have to divulge everything to everybody. You can have a secret part to your story. Well, when you're having another baby, well, how would you answer that, honey?
I will say that it's my personal business, our personal business, and not someone else's business. But in my age, I'm already mature enough that I can answer that question that way. When you're 20, you'll get quite confused with this question.
Well, Lucy handles that very nicely with us, okay? When someone says, well, when you guys going to have another child, because you're very attractive, and be a beautiful child, Lucy says, well, I'm not having any more, but Jim can have as many more as he wants. And that stops the conversation. She's looking at me.
I never said anything like
It's on her. I'm reading her mind, okay? She says, mentally.
There are all sorts of uncomfortable questions, like why don't you change the job? And if you're enjoying your job, it's your own business. Even if you don't make enough money by somebody else's belief, if it's enough for you and it works for you, for your family, for your spouse, I mean, not for somebody else. Sometimes, it often actually happens that parents projecting their beliefs onto children and forcing them to go to university, do this and that. And sometimes it's not actually the right way for this particular person. For example, the family will be forcing the child the young person go to university to get a low degree when their interest way beyond the low degree. If their interest will be in ecology or in technology, innovation, in IT or something else. These are questions that get you upset, but in addition to trying to understand what person meant and why person asked those questions, you need to understand the human nature. And the human nature will be A, talking about other people, B, judging other people's life. No matter how hard you try and say that people shouldn't do it, people will. It just inside the brain, and many people this way replacing lack of activity and lack of action actually in their own life by talking and judging lives of other. And this how they come with those questions that you feel uncomfortable hearing, not just answering, but even hearing, and nothing you can change about it. You still will be getting those questions. So A, get used to it. B, understand that it's human nature. And C, be ready to answer with a joke.
Answer with a joke, and also establish boundaries. Excuse me, you'd be amazed at what you can do when you just set up some practical boundaries, and you don't have to do any of these things rudely to anyone. You can be very polite about it, but steadfast in your boundaries and saying, hey, wait, this part of my life is private, and I know you're concerned about me. I know you care deeply about me, and I care about you. But we're working on this. I'm working on doing this and this, and I'd like to not discuss this part of my life, please. I know you care. And it's funny, we find ourselves asking people some of the same things. But don't be rude to other people. Show some compassion. Now you'll be able to detect if someone is trying to be negative towards you, trying to pick up on, say, when you're finally young. Some of these questions can be good because they can motivate us. And it's also good, as I looked around in life and I wonder, I have my 4 children, none of them attended college. And but I wish that we had pushed them more to go to college, because most people don't graduate with a college degree that they had entered college with. They usually pick another degree altogether, and some of them pick a degree that's asinine that doesn't work at all for them. So they don't know what they really want to do, and some of them are really happy years later that their parents chose something for them that they would have never done. It's hard to find a right and wrong answer on it, because people just don't know. But listen, one of the things we can do is be comfortable in the place where we're coming from, not be fearful, recognize our purpose, and have a sense of well-being and define boundaries.
Exactly. So recognize the interest and think of what you can do about it. Stand on your beliefs, but at the same time think about things like education, the parents forcing you. If that's not something you're planning to do, you just change specialty and study something different. If it goes against your parents' belief, you have to try to convince them, not necessarily creating conflicts. And sometimes we know it's not very much possible. But anyway, you are the one who live in this life, and you are the one who making choices, no matter wrong or right. We're all making wrong and right choices in life, and it's never like the one perfect person that makes all the right choices all the time. Yes? No, it's not. It's still not. So think for yourself and try to understand. And yes, stay respectful, but keep your boundaries and keep your own focus on your own life and your own goals.
Now, I will admit, Lucy is absolutely right. I will admit If you're sleeping on your parents' sofa or down in the basement, and all you're doing is playing video games, as much as you like them, as much as a $1 billion business or something, and that's what you're doing every day, then you need to have someone have a talk with you, okay? If you're in your 7th year of college and you haven't gone out and picked out your major yet, and you haven't gone out for a job because you're afraid of rejection, well, no, something is wrong. You need to be talked to right now and get up to do something. But if you're living on your own, you're paying your own bills, and you're taking care of yourself, you're making some right choices, then you're fine. But if you're still sleeping at home because you couldn't pay the rent someplace else, you didn't have the courage to go out there and get a job and get married and make your life, then somebody ought to talk to you and say, hey, it's time to cowgirl up.
So as you can see, situation could be different. And it is for you and not just for you to define which situation is wrong and right. So when you make the decision how to react to these uncomfortable questions, A, try to understand, B, consider experience of other people as well. Because, yes, as Jim said, when someone stays at home, so to plus years old, staying home, playing computer games, living in parents' basement, and getting meals prepared by mom.
I mean, come on. Maybe your dad wants to knock your room out and make that into the mom's painting room or mom meditation room or mom getaway room. Okay. Maybe he wants to do something and make a study out of this something, and you've been there for like 30 years and it's time to get out.
There's a lot of young people like this, and there's a lot of young people who even try to build their own life, but they still depend on parents because they're failing here and there all the time. It happens, but you need to build your independence.
You're supposed to build your independence. I had a friend of mine years ago, and I remember I recognized his 3 or 4 boys easily. They looked just like their mom and dad. And one day, the last one was moving out, and I thought, they must really be disappointed, the mom and dad, without the teaching everybody everything now, and the kids finally knowing when to get the chores done, take the garbage out, when to do the dishes, and all these things. They must be really disappointed. And I said, I'm so sorry that's the last one leaving. And he turned to me and he said, Jim, this is a long time ago and I've never forgotten it. He said, Jim, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to grow up, leave the house, go out and strike it on their own. Success or fail. That's what they're supposed to do. And that's what we're supposed to be doing as well. Go do it. You can.
Go do it and stop being uncomfortable with uncomfortable questions. Because you can make it work for you.